and the interview we couldn't air. I make other people sound like the truest versions of themselves. That's the job when you sit in a dark room with a console for a spine and a reputation for getting the breaths right. I'm Jonah, 35, senior producer at a once scrappy, now wealthy investigative podcast called Ledger. Our brand is revelation wrapped in careful music. Our sin is proximity to power. We win awards that look good on shelves and piss off people who can afford to renovate the shelf. 3 weeks before the episode we didn't air, our editor-in-chief walked a woman through the bullpen with the gait of someone unveiling a new wing. Her name was Myra. She had been a print reporter the way some people are knife throwers, precision disguised as luck. She wore a cardigan like armor and an expression that said she only smiled when she meant it. Our editor, Cal, beamed. "Myra's anchoring the Corrin series," he said, as if the name alone explained why the building vibrated. Senator Eli Corrin, bipartisan darling, rumored 2028 contender, teeth you could sell weather with. His infrastructure bill had saved a bridge and 2 re-election campaigns. He also had a foundation with a bank account that looked like a river leaving town at night. That was our story, or it would have been. The first time Myra sat in my studio, she'd just come from a courthouse where oxygen was rationed by the square foot. She put her notebook on the desk like a map and said, "I'm going to ask you to pull something that might not exist." "Those are my favorite somethings," I said. "They pay in miracles." She smiled. "You'll hate me by the end." "Everyone does," I said cheerfully. "That's why I live with headphones." The thing that might not exist was a set of off-mic recordings from a fundraiser at the Bellevue Hotel, a room where the donors wear confidence like linen. A junior staffer had whispered to Myra that Corrin's tech advisor, a man named Axel, had stepped into a service kitchen with someone's wife and said something stupid into a glass. This is how stories are born in our trade. Lust trips over hubris, and the floor mics don't care about reputations. I pull sound the way fishermen tell stories, patient, superstitious, more art than math until the math makes the miracle obvious. In the mess of clinking cutlery and fundraising laughter, I found a seam that wasn't dinner. Axel's voice low and pleased. Another voice, a woman quiet, veteran, tired. Words broken by the shutter of a freezer door. "It's done," he said. "The conduit works. Move the invoice through Mariel before quarter close." "Will it touch the foundation?" she asked. "It will touch whatever I say it touches," he said, and then something that wasn't a word but sounded like a touch. We cut the breath before the touch. YouTube would approve. HR wouldn't have to email anyone. But the implication was there. The conduit, the invoice, the line between money and mission turning into vapor because someone whispered please. When we played the clip for Cal, he pressed his fingertips together like prayer and said, "If you air this, we declare a war we can't afford." Then he said, "Great work," which in our building means, "Hold on while I figure out who I owe." Myra didn't flinch. "We'll corroborate," she said. "We'll let the senator answer." "He'll send a fixer," I said, "and a lawyer with a nicer watch than truth." Myra tapped the table twice with her pen like it was a gavel. "Then we'll bring the ledger," she said, and we all decided to feel brave until it cost something. The fixer arrived 2 days later, Cass. She had that PR face that looks like a second mirror. You see yourself as she needs you. She toured our studio like someone measuring a stage. "We want to be helpful," she said. "We love Ledger. We donate to Ledger. You are part of the civic fabric." "Don't spill coffee on the fabric," I said under my breath. Myra coughed to cover a laugh. Cass laid out terms that smelled like surrender. Pre-interview only, no ambushes. All questions submitted 48 hours ahead. The senator not on the record about anything we could actually verify. Myra listened politely the way surgeons let relatives ask about crystals. "No," she said. "We'll do on the record, time-stamped with contemporaneous documents, or we won't." Cass's smile held. "You use the word contemporaneous in a sentence and you think it's teeth," she said. "It is." She turned to me like I was the gentle one. "You're the sound man. You know narrative is collaborative." "I know leverage hates microphones," I said. The interview against odds and gods happened the following Thursday. The senator sat in our studio in a navy suit and practiced decency. Cass perched off mic, a human metronome. Myra asked clean questions. Corin offered tidy answers. Every time she leaned near a point that mattered, Cass breathed too loud. At the 40-minute mark, we had a civil conversation and a show that could win exactly 0 awards. During a break for water we didn't need, Myra looked at me through the glass. It's a look anchors give producers when they are asking you to set a fuse. I nodded, because I have always been bad at refusing people who are about to do something honest. When we rolled again, Myra went small, not aggressive, surgical. "Senator," she said, voice low like confession, "we're going to play audio, we'd like your reaction." We aired 10 seconds of the Bellevue kitchen, not the touch, just the conduit and the invoice and the tone that makes lawyers suddenly remember their children's recitals. Corin's face did a flicker. Cass smiled like a person smelling smoke in someone else's kitchen. "Out of context," she said. Corin said, "fabricated," and looked at me like I had personally invented waveforms to ruin his day. "Who is Mariel?" Myra asked. "A saint," he said, "probably my aunt." "She works at your foundation," Myra said, and slid a document across the table as if the microphones were blind. "She receives invoices that look like consulting and feel like debt." We didn't get an admission. We got the next best thing, rage disguised as civility. Corin said, "This is beneath you," which is how people try to fold you in half and set you aside. Myra said, "It's exactly my height." When the senator left, Cass lingered. She took in our gear, our glass, our human bodies. "You'll have to prove chain of custody," she said to me. "You'll fail." "Try me," I said. She leaned closer. Her perfume was citrus over calculation. "You think you're clean because you sit in the dark," she said softly. "You're not. You're a room people walk into when they're tired of being seen." She touched the edge of the console. "Still there," she murmured, like she was testing the stability of a shelf. "Still," I said, and hated the heat in my throat. The betrayal arrived that night wearing metadata. We store working cuts on a secure server that requires 2 keys and a prayer. At 2:13 a.m., someone exported a copy of our interview and shipped it to a private Dropbox under a name that sounded like an apology. I saw the log at 8:06 a.m. and tasted metal. The export had originated from Cal's machine. When I confronted him, he raised his hands, palms up, a man unarmed. "It's standard PR," he said. "They want to prepare. The story will be stronger if we don't get blindsided." "You gave them the cut," I said. "You gave the subject the story and called it preparation." "I gave them a chance to correct inaccuracies," he said. "We're not prosecutors." "We're not stenographers," Myra said from the doorway. Her calm was the kind that empties a room, even one with 2 people in it. "And we're not a laundry service for men who spill." Cal's mouth thinned. "You're new here," he said. "You don't know what survival looks like at scale." "I know what capitulation looks like at any size," she said. "We fought without raising our voices. We lost without changing our minds. Cal didn't pull the episode, he vacuum sealed it. We'll hold," he said. "We'll keep reporting. We'll wait for a better angle." He meant, We will not air this because the phone calls I make are more important than the ones I can't. Myra and I sat in the empty studio, breathing the quiet that comes after someone sells your work and keeps the receipt. She rested her head against the glass between us. "Tell me you kept the raw," she said. "I keep everything," I said. "Even the part you cut?" she asked. "The almost touch." "I cut it," I said. "It's not the point." She nodded, eyes gone unreadable. She stood and came in, closed the door, and for a moment the world shrank to a room and the noise our bodies make when we try to be ethical and animal at the same time. She touched my sternum with 2 fingers light. "Still there." "Still," I said, and it felt like a promise I could keep for about 5 minutes at a time. The next 48 hours were accusation disguised as memo. Legal asked about provenance. It asked about external access we had already reported. Cass called Cal and called it collegial and offered us a quote that said nothing like a flower that looks expensive and smells like glass. The senator held a press conference about accountability. The city yawned out of one eye. Myra got a text from a number marked unknown. Roof. South stair. Blue door. 9:10. She showed it to me with a look that said she knew we were in a bad play. I followed her anyway because my courage is smarter when I have company. The roof was all night and wind and a neon sign on the next building selling nothing to no one. Cass waited with her hair unbothered by weather. "You brought him," she said, as if we were a package. "Good." "Say it," Myra said. "You can't air," Cass said. "You know it, Cal knows it, your owner knows it." She glanced at me. "Your owner knows it, Jonah." "We have donors," I said. "We don't have owners." She laughed with her mouth closed. "Everyone has owners," she said. "You work for a company that invests in clean narratives. Eli is a good investment. If you make him radioactive, you burn your own portfolio." "Let it burn," Myra said. Cass stepped closer. "You think this is about sex in a kitchen," she said softly. "It's about a clinic in a district that loses elections if we humiliate a man people still think is trying. If you need a villain, pick me. I have better shoes. But if you need to win, don't set fire to the floor." "Who pays the clinic?" Myra asked. "And who gets paid to steer the invoices?" She took a breath. "I don't need a villain, I need a sentence I can put next to a document." Cass tilted her head. "You want to be brave. Be surgical," she said. "If you air that clip, we roll you. If you air the invoice and the conduit with 3 voices on the record, we talk about reform and everyone goes home." She touched the railing, then my arm briefly, enough to register heat and calculation. "Still there," she said, like she could feel my pulse in my jacket sleeve. "Still," I said, adding how the word felt in her mouth and mine. "We didn't promise anything. We didn't walk away either. We did the thing reporters do when they want to feel clean. We worked. We found Mariel. She didn't pick up, then she did. Then she cried soundlessly while I sat in Myra's car outside a laundromat where the night eats its coins. She gave us 3 emails and 1 bank transfer we could verify without destroying her life. We spoke with a hospital administrator who wanted to be anonymous and also thanked God into the recorder like it was a microphone that baptized. On Sunday night, I cut what should have been our episode. It was lean, mean, almost legally edible. There was no kitchen. There was a conduit with dates, a bill of lading, a consulting shell with a docking port where public money went to take a nap. Myra's tracking was the kind of furious that pretends to be calm. At the out, she didn't say shame. She said choice. We sent the cut to Cal and waited for the Slack ping that tells you whether you still work for your conscience. The ping arrived with a meeting invite titled Strategy. Strategy meant no. The company would run a web piece late, soft, unshareable. The audio would not air. Our owner had weighed in. It turns out our portfolio had feelings. Cal's mouth did the thing a mouth does when it has to look like leadership while performing surrender. Myra listened, face steady, pen still. When the meeting ended, she didn't cry. She said, "Okay," so flat the table blushed. Then she looked at me and said, "Walk." We walked the long block to the river where the city keeps its illusions. She leaned on the railing. I stood beside her so close our coats talked. "I don't want to be good if it only means being quiet," she said. "You aren't quiet," I said. "You're patient, that's worse." She laughed, exhausted and bright. "Do you ever miss when you didn't know how it all worked?" she asked. "I never had that phase," I said. "I was born liking the switchboard." She turned close enough that the cold became a dare. "We could leak," she said. "We could," I said. "We shouldn't," she added. "We shouldn't," I agreed. We didn't. We did something smaller and perhaps meaner. We aired a different story 3 days later on paper, not the episode. An explainer about dark money with no names and very specific examples that only meant one name if you knew how to sound out smoke. Cass sent flowers. The senator posted a photo with a dog. The clinic got a donation from a foundation with a different conduit. The world went on, unpunished. Myra and I, well, we learned each other's caffeine habits and silences. Sometimes she'd stop in the doorway of my studio and rest 2 fingers against the pane. Still there, it became a language. Sometimes my answer was still. Sometimes it was just an exhale because exhaustion is its own vowel. We kissed once, months later after a live show in a town where the hotel carpet could keep your secrets and the bar didn't ask for a room number. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a thesis. It was a human choosing another human in a hallway with soft light and a carpeted oath. Her mouth tasted like limes and stamina. My hand stayed respectful and greedy. We kept to the safe edges and made the air between us loud. If you filmed it, you could sell ads. If you asked my heart, it panicked, then wrote a calmer memo. We didn't become a capital letter thing. We became a pair of people who keep choosing a sky, even when the building wants a roof. Sometimes, when I cut a track that takes a slice out of someone who deserves to bleed, I think of Cass and her calm cruelty. Sometimes, when I open a session and hear a breath that I can't ethically use, I think of the kitchen I never aired and the touch I didn't save. Last week, Cal left to spend more time with his family, which is the way our industry says the portfolio's feelings changed. Myra's series on zoning fraud ran so hot the city council wore sunscreen to hearings. A small clinic got a grant from a source that didn't require contrition. The senator, he's still on TV with the dog. The conduit stays quieter when we shine lights on the ceiling. Late at night, alone in the studio, I'll sometimes solo a track just to hear the room hum. It sounds like a promise kept by tired machines. I'll feel the console under my hands, the way a fader resists until you insist, and imagine a rooftop, a blue door, a woman asking me a question that counts twice. Still there, the building whispers when the lights drop to half. "Still," I answer, and the meters glow like a lie detector we decided not to plug into the power of men.